Okay, Algebra 2C, we're here working on the review for quiz section 7.5 to 8.1. Number 1, I know it's a little blurry, but it's the square root of negative 24x to the 6th. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to break it off into two easier problems. The square root of negative 24 and the square root of x to the 6th. This square root of negative 24 I can rewrite as the square root of negative 4 times the square root of 6. So square root of negative 4 times square root of 6. And that simplifies to 2i root 6. And then if we're looking at the square root of x to the 6th, 2 goes into 6 3 times. So that gives me x cubed. Okay, so my final thing, I need to move the x cubed out front, which gives me 2i x cubed times the square root of 6. And that's going to be my final answer right there. Okay, number 2, very similar problem. Break it off. Make it a little easier for yourself. Square root of negative 8 times the square root of n to the 4th. Okay, I can simplify the square root of negative 8 to 2i root 2, because I can rewrite it as square root of negative 4 times square root of 2. 2 goes into 4 twice, so that gives me n squared. And my final answer, 2in squared times the square root of 2. Okay, let's keep rolling. Okay, the next one looks a little harder, but it's very similar. Okay, square root of negative 32 times square root of n squared times the square root of p to the 4th. Okay, we just have one more variable involved. Square root of negative 32 simplifies to 4i root 2. 2 goes into 2 once, so I just have n. 2 goes into 4 twice, so I have p squared. Put it all together, I get my 4i n p squared times the square root of 2. Okay, so I think the hardest part is just simplifying that front number. Same idea here, but now we just have one more variable involved. Square root of negative 4 at 54, square root of b to the 4th, square root of c to the 5th, and square root of d to the 3rd. Okay, negative 54 can simplify to 9 times 6, so the square root of negative 9 times the square root of 6, which simplifies to 3i root 6. 2 goes into 4 twice, so I have b squared. 2 goes into 5 twice, so I have c squared, and then I have a remainder of 1. And 2 goes into 3 once, so I have d on the outside with a remainder of d. Last but not least, I need to put everything out front, so this is going to have a big coefficient. 3i, b squared, c squared, d, and then underneath that square root, I still have the 6, the c, and 1d. Okay, so that's a big one, but still the same idea. Okay. Number 5, this is where it kind of gets tricky. Okay, remember we got to simplify all the imaginary numbers. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to simplify the square root of negative 54. So I'm going to keep this negative 3 out front. And I can simplify the square root of negative 54 into 9 times 6, which simplifies to 3i root 6. Okay, square root of 2 stays the same. And now I'm going to keep my 3. Remember, this is addition and subtraction. I'm going to keep my 3 out front. And I can simplify the square root of negative 8 to 2i root 2. And now I'm just going to combine like terms. Okay, I'm going to multiply these together, and I'm going to multiply these together. So I get negative 9i root 6. Can't simplify the square root of 2. And I get plus 6i root 2. So this is actually my final answer, because if you notice, I do have root 2 here and root 2 here, but one's imaginary and one's real. And last but not least, I have root 6. Okay, so none of these are in fact like terms. So this is my final answer. Okay? Number 6, I need to simplify the square root of 8, keep the negative sign on the outside, and I have 2i root 2. I need to simplify the square root of negative 32, which gives me 4i root 2. And then I can't simplify 3 root 3 anymore. Okay, so now if you notice, I'm looking for like terms here. These, in fact, are like terms, because they are both imaginary, and they both have a square root of 2. So I need to think about it as negative 2 minus 4i, which gives me negative 6i, and then the root 2 stays the same, because now we're adding. And then this last term right here can't combine, so I get 3 root 3. And that's going to be my final answer. Okay, 2 more problems on this page. Remember, multiplication, the key here is to simplify first. Okay, that's key every time with imaginary numbers. Get that imaginary out from underneath the square root. Okay, so I can simplify this to I root 2. And I can simplify the square root of negative 8 to 2I root 2. Okay, because the square root of negative 8 simplifies the square root of negative 4 times 2, which simplifies to 2I root 2. Okay? So now, I just need to multiply. Multiply the coefficients together. Multiply the radicals together. And you get 2I squared. Root 2 times root 2 just gives me 2. So now I get 4I squared. And we know that I squared equals negative 1. So I can replace with 4 times negative 1, which gives me my final answer of negative 4. Okay, number 8. It looks tricky, but remember, simplify first. Get rid of that imaginary number. Okay, we need to get the negative out from underneath that square root. So I simplify this to 4I root 3. The square root of 5 can't simplify, but I need to get this negative out underneath the square root. So this simplifies to 3I root 2. And now we can distribute. Now that we have all imaginary numbers. Okay, 4I root 3 times root 5 gives me 4I root 15. And 4I root 3 times 3I root 2 gives me 12I squared root 6. Okay, we can simplify one more thing, and that's the I squared. We can put negative 1 in for I squared, which is going to leave us with our final answer, 4I root 15 minus 12 root 6. So this negative 1 comes in right here with the negative sign. Okay, and that's the final answer for the first page.